you need to be patient. Like you need to be like, this is going to work. I'm going to put all my work and effort into building it now. Even though I don't see the results, I will be posting my pins on Pinterest, even if it doesn't bring me anything in the next 2 or 3 months. But I am doing it for the sake of the future well-being, like, and the fruits in the future. I will do it. Like, I will just do all the annoying work that there is, and I don't see any results for it, and nobody's clapping like, well done, well done. But you have to do it because it will come in the future.
This is your host, Dyutama, but you can call me DJ. And I love to inspire food photographers to dream. I spent 15 years as an architect studying buildings and constructing hospitals before taking the biggest leap of faith of my life, which was setting up a food styling and food photography business right from scratch. If you're a dreamer like me, wanting to start a new photography business or grow your existing food photography business, jump right into a world where I share practical, actionable strategies to improve your photography skills, to work with clients, make more money, all with a fearless mindset. This is the My Food Lens podcast, and we take you one step closer to your dreams. So let's go. Welcome to the My Food Lens podcast. And today we continue our conversation with Lucia. Lucia is a food photographer, food photography teacher, coach, and an online business consultant. Lucia was actually born in Slovakia and she lives in Italy. Wow, that sounds like fun. And I hope that you had the chance to tune into part 1 of our conversation with her because it was absolutely mind-blowing. If there is ever a question that you have about creating a portfolio and turning it into an impactful and a lucrative and a profitable portfolio, boss, then you will most absolutely love the conversation that we had in part 1. And you are going to absolutely love what we're going to talk about in part 2. Today, we're going to cover a lot about business and presenting our portfolio and negotiating our rates and getting feedback and basically just organizing our portfolio so that it can start growing our business, it can start making it profitable, and it can start elevating everything that we do, showcasing our skills as they deserve to be. All right. Lucia is back here to talk to us all about it. So let's go. I actually had a very interesting experience very early on. It was probably the first project I ever bid on. Like, I was asked by an agency and they asked me to send my portfolio. And obviously I was shaking because I was so scared. And I sent them a portfolio. It was a restaurant. And I remember that I had put all my photos in a certain sequence. And I think I had about 10 photos and I sent it out as a PDF, all right, because we had to send it. It wasn't a link, I remember. I didn't get that project, and that was for different reasons. But the agency lady was very sweet. And she actually understood that I was just beginning. And it was probably the first time because obviously there was a lot of difference between my bid and the bid from other, very experienced photographers. And so she sent me examples of portfolios of the experienced photographers.
Oh, wow.
And she said that I think this would be helpful for you.
Yes.
So, and there was nothing that she was breaching privacy or confidentiality. It was all public, information that those photographers had online. So it was still okay to share, but I didn't have access. So she gave me access to them. Now, there was something that I noticed about it. And I want to ask you this question because this gets left out a lot. It was not something I was aware of at that time. And I have seen that a lot of photographers have different viewpoints on it. And so I would love to hear what your take is. And that is about organizing the photos in a portfolio. So when I had sent out my portfolio, they were 10 photos in one sequence. And it was like boom, 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 page 1, page 2, page 3 kind of thing. But when she sent me those reference portfolios, they were organized in a very different way. There were some that were organized by natural and artificial light. So there were 5 photos of natural light, some with artificial light. There was one portfolio in which light work, like the bright and airy, was separated from the dark and moody in the sequence. And it was very clearly labeled. This is bright, this is dark, this is natural, this is artificial. And for artificial light, even the gear was mentioned. So is there something that you have found? Is there a recommended way that we must organize our photos, one better than the other? What's your take on this?
Sure. My opinion is to organize the images in the way that we show a very different variety. So I have never, for example, presented my images in the way that I mentioned the gear that I used, or that I mentioned that this is with the natural light, with the artificial light. And I have never had any experience like client or an agency was asking me about like how did I shot this. So from my experience, I would organize the images based on the variety. So I would have something with bright and airy, something with dark and moody, something with hard light, something minimalistic, something more complex, something different. And so that would be the way how I would organize. And also for the portfolio gallery, I would just immediately aim for a variety of different styles, not necessarily describing like this is the hard light, soft light, because this is how I create the image. And so if the client likes the image that I create, they don't really care about the gear that I used. And if they can, for example, they ask me to print an image on a big, like 4 meters per 3 meters. And if I'm able to create that quality of the image, they don't care how I create them. So at that point, yes. But maybe some agencies, yes, they might request like, because the agency wants to know it for themselves, not necessarily for the client. So because the agency wants to guarantee the quality of the work that will assign to you. And however, they are going to be the face of the projects and they are going to communicate with the client and the client will complain with them, not with you necessarily. So at that point, yes, I understand that the agency might need more technical details and they will ask about the lenses, about the camera, about maybe the resolution, about like, are we shooting with a flash, continuous light, natural light, and so on and so forth. So yes, for different type of brands that we communicate with, that there might be different ways how we present the images. So we just need to think like, okay, what the brand is interested in, what they need to know, and what they don't need to know. So I'm not overwhelming them with too many information.
And there is no right or wrong, basically.
Yeah.
It's not important that all your light work or your bright work is clubbed together and all your dark work is clubbed as, one segment. It's also not necessary that all your hard light and soft light is clubbed separately. Basically, you're saying that it's really how we want that
Mm.
flow to happen, as long as we know that we can communicate that. And if the agency or the third party who is involved, they need extra information, they can always ask us. Or we can ask them if they need any extra
Yes,
information.
before. Yes, yes,
Mm,
absolutely.
good. That means my portfolio was absolutely fine.
But
And yeah.
it was very insightful to learn about like what you mentioned, that how other photographers are organizing their portfolio, because I believe yes, there is something we can learn from that as
But
well.
I'm with you on this. I just don't feel that we, at least for bright and dark work, I really feel like it should not be separated because it's all part of what we can create, even artificial or natural light. So for some photographers, they may never work with natural light. For example, me. I only work with artificial light. So why should I mention it in my portfolio when I don't want to mention it? Like it's not
Yeah.
important. Whatever I create will be from artificial light. So I think it's very, like you said, it's very important that we are clear how best we want to communicate and what is the journey we want the person who is looking at those photos to take from one photo to the other. What is the feeling, the emotion, and what's the underlying purpose of them looking at our portfolio, and whether our portfolio is going to fulfill that purpose or not. So I love that. It's, again, I just love what you're saying, Lucia, because it's just such a free way of thinking. You don't have to have a style, so don't get stuck on it. You don't have to have a certain way of, organizing your portfolio. So be free about it. Like there's so much freedom, that we have around this. So that we can actually create something that is impactful. So tell me, we talked about everything. Like we've literally talked about what are the do's and don'ts, what are the things that we need to keep in mind when we are creating, what is important, what is not. But let's say someone does have a really nice portfolio and they've put in a few years of experience and they have something that they do think is quite impactful, but it's with them. What do they do next? How do they market their work? How do they share it? How can they make that portfolio fulfill its purpose in this world? Tell us.
Absolutely. So the first thing is to really optimize your portfolio for Google search. So it will take time. It is not a short-term solution, but in a long term, it can bring a lot of clients to you. So you really need to optimize the most important pages because you can get a lot of client requests from Google. And it happens to me and it happens to my students. So the one especially that I have in mind, she built her portfolio, she optimized it, she's focusing on her town, on her country, which is a small country in Europe, and she really optimized the portfolio. It took a few months for Google to start ranking it, but she is now receiving a lot of client requests from Google. So companies are Googling and finding her portfolio on Google. So this is the first way how you can market your portfolio. And plus, if you have a studio or if you are open to share your home studio on Google, which I'm not open to share my home address on Google, but if you
Hmm.
have a professional studio, you can add the point in Google Maps, which is the food photography studio, and this also helps you be easily foundable, right?
Wow.
By clients. So you can add your studio to the Google Maps, and this helps you with the ranking of your portfolio in Google. So then, of course, we can market our portfolio on social media, and we don't need to go crazy about growing the social media because it takes a lot of energy and time, and we don't need huge following for having clients, but we need to be present on social media. So you can add your portfolio link to your Instagram profile, to your LinkedIn profile. This is very important because all the managers and decision makers are hanging out on LinkedIn and have your profile there as well. So you can add a gallery images there on your LinkedIn profile. You can join different groups and so on and so forth. Then you can add your portfolio link to your Pinterest page and you can keep adding pins to Pinterest that are linking to your portfolio because you never know, like companies are people. There are people behind brands and people are going to Pinterest for their inspiration. They are also going to Pinterest when they are putting the first ideas for their future projects. And then they send you those ideas, but most probably they have those images from Pinterest or from Instagram. So add your images to Pinterest as well and link them to your portfolio. This is also a great way how you can bring clients to your website. You have to pitch clients. So you have to add the link to a portfolio inside your PG emails, inside your follow-up emails. You can also create business cards with the QR code on the business card so people can scan it and they can access your portfolio immediately. And you can also distribute the business cards whenever you are at the networking events, you are just talking to someone, and so on and so forth. And then the other way is just to do a good job with your current clients and
Hmm.
they will refer you to other brands, or just talk to your family and talk to your ex classmates from the high school and university and have a research where they work. Send them a message, give them a call, invite them for a coffee. Hi, how are you? I haven't seen you in 10 years. I am a food photographer and I see you are working in this type of brand. Can you connect me with, someone? So this can definitely work as well. So there are many ways how you can actually market your portfolio. I want to also add that it takes time. So you cannot expect that I build my portfolio like I expected. I finished my portfolio and now I'm open for all the clients that are going to arrive to me. It doesn't work like that. There are a lot of steps and there is a hard work that you need to do and the results will arrive. It will be harder and you will have to work more at the beginning, but with time you will get your first clients, you will get your permanent clients, the clients will refer more clients. And so the other clients will find you on Google and on social media. And so you will get into the position when you will be busy and you will be just collecting the fruits of the hard work you did at the beginning.
Hmm. Amazing. I love it. And I especially love your point about using Google. I mean, it
Mm.
is so underrated because everyone always wants to, kind of use social media. And you talk to anyone and they'll say, oh, Instagram, that's where I have my portfolio. Instagram is my portfolio. And they use that so often. But I feel like Google is the long term, or even something like Pinterest. Like you said, it is
Yeah.
still social media, but something like Pinterest is way long term because your
It's very
pins are,
underrated as
yes,
well. Yeah.
exactly. Your pins are always getting attention, even, and you don't have to stay there and, have the
Mm.
time spent like you have to probably spend on Instagram. So I think Google is something, especially if you're a professional photographer, you know that you're going to be in this for a long time, then start paying attention to Google and your SEO right from the beginning. Because, like you said, it takes time, but it has real fruits
Oh.
yeah, in a few years. Yeah. And
Mm.
yeah, bloggers make money out of it, photographers get jobs out of it. So, SEO is definitely something worth paying attention to
Mm.
for
Yeah.
someone who hasn't.
And the patience, because also bloggers, when you see like, or when you hear the stories, like when their blog took off, like it was 2 years after they created it. So you need to be patient. Like you need to be like, this is going to work. I'm going to put all my work and effort into building it now. Even though I don't see the results, I will be posting my pins on Pinterest, even if it doesn't bring me anything in the next 2 or 3 months. But I am doing it for the sake of the future well being, like, and the fruits in the future. I will do it. Like, I'll just do all the annoying work that there is, and I don't see any results for it. And nobody's clapping, like, well done, well done. But you have to do it because it will come in the future.
Yeah. We had Sam Adler on one of our past episodes, and Sam shared with us that when she had her baby and she
Mhm.
had taken a few months off from work, her blog, when she was not working, her blog made over 100,000.
Gee.
Yes. And she said that was the highest ever. And she said it happened when I was not even working on my blog because the last 2 years she had worked like hell. And she said that whatever I had done in the last 3 or 4 years of building the blog and getting it and getting the traffic and working on the SEO was then, giving the fruits of all her labor when she was in labor, herself. Like she
Yes.
was she was nurturing that little baby, and her blog was making money, and she passively made over 100,000. So
That's amazing.
that's that. Yeah, it's amazing, but it's exactly what you're saying right now, and that is, even though Google will not start getting us clients the moment we start paying attention to SEO, but this is a very powerful way to stay in the game long term. And
Absolutely.
right, you know Lucia, we've talked about an impactful portfolio and how targeted it should be and how we reach clients, how we want to communicate with them. But when we are ultimately negotiating with them, when we are actually talking about a project and closing the deal, do you think having a robust portfolio, or how can our portfolio actually help us negotiate a better rate with our clients?
Absolutely. It can really help us a lot because when you spend time to build your portfolio and you do it well and you create very impactful, beautiful as well portfolio with all the important information and relevant images, all this can help you really in negotiating a higher rate or better rate. So I just would maybe mention Susie, for example. She was one of my member in the club, and she joined the club when she was starting. So starting in food photography, after a few months, she developed her portfolio, and she was working on her portfolio for a few months. So it was about 4 or 5 months. She was putting it together. She was sending it for the review. So I was giving her some additional tips. She was working on that, updating it, everything, and changing and adding. And once she launched it, she started pitching clients and asking about the projects. And I remember that situation, we talked about it a few times. She basically got accepted for a job which was above the budget they had assigned for the job.
Hmm.
And it was one of the first projects that she actually started working on. And the reason why they accepted her was because they considered her portfolio as highly professional.
Mm.
And so this is just a great example about like how the portfolio can support you in negotiating better rates. Also with other students, like they are building their portfolio for months. And we had the live call the other day, and another member was telling me about it. And she also had a great success because she sent a higher quotation. She was one of the highest ones from other photographers they considered for the job. And when she talked to the client, they told her that she was one of the highest, most more expensive ones, but they love her portfolio, and they still need to agree like who will be the photographer for the project, but she was one of the ones who was considered for the job thanks to the portfolio as well.
Mm-hmm. I
So
love
it is
it.
very, very important. It can
Yeah.
help a lot.
Yeah, and I want to come at this from a very different angle. I while you were saying this, something just struck me. And when we started this conversation, you said that you don't just make your portfolio, it's a work in progress always, and you're always adding on to it. I feel that we use our portfolio to get a project, right? When our portfolio is a good quality, we get a good quality project. And when we get that good quality project, it goes into our portfolio. And then we use that to get an even better quality project. So if you are working with a restaurant and you've put their work in your portfolio, you can actually negotiate your way up to a 5-star hotel that you have worked with this and you are capable of that. So I would also like to, just kind of add that the better that your portfolio gets, the
Yes.
higher your dream client gets. Like you are moving up in the ladder. And that's how you get better rates and better projects and bigger names. And you keep adding that to your portfolio.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. The other way, how you can skip, for example, time, and you can get straight to the
Aha!
premium
I
projects
love
when it
it.
comes to hotels or restaurants. There is another way. I mean, you need to have the confidence. You need to overcome that fear of doing it, but you can definitely do it. Just go straight to the top and to the premium level. Offer to 1, 2, if you need, 3 projects to the top, like premium hotels. Do the projects for free. Add those images into your portfolio, and you have immediately the top portfolio with the top premium images from the best hotels. And then you start, pitching and asking for the paid projects.
I love it. I love it. A lot of people don't believe in working for free, but I feel like where you get high value, it's totally worth it. And this would definitely be that because who knows, when you're working for free for them, they might just want to continue working with you. They
Yeah.
love that experience. I have one more thing that I would love to add in this because we're talking about this experience. And that was I got my first, I think it's a 5 or 7 star hotel project with zero experience working with any hotel hospitality. And that was only because I somehow gathered the courage to pitch to them. And sometimes it takes no experience, and all it takes is a good portfolio. It was on the basis of my portfolio, which did not have many restaurant jobs, by the way, in it. I took all my personal projects
Mhm.
and I pitched to them, and they called me, and I printed my portfolio and I took it to show them so they could see big photos and experience it in real. And that got my foot in the door, and we did many projects together. But that is like also a way that you don't have to do free. You don't have to work your way up. Sometimes it's about showing courage. Sometimes it's about taking a leap of faith. So it's really what we want it to be, you know? What worked for me doesn't mean it'll work for someone else, and what works for someone else may not work for them. So
Absolutely.
I just love this, that how we started the conversation with how important portfolios are. And right now we're talking about working with 5-star hotels and big hospitality brands. That is the power of a good portfolio. That's how you build your career and your business a lot. So the other way, because I was talking about how I went to this hotel and I was meeting with the marketing team, And I actually carried my portfolio printed in front of me. And of course, they had seen the digital version as well. Do you have any like tips, Lucia, on how we can actually present our portfolios in maybe client meetings or pitches, or even like, a lot more people meet on Zoom right in today's world. This was pre-COVID that I was saying, where everything was in person. But in general, like, can you share with us maybe 2 or 3 tips on how we can, share our portfolio or discuss our portfolio or present our portfolio to our clients?
Absolutely. So, first of all, when clients are searching a photographer, they go through the portfolio. So they already see your portfolio before they eventually contact you. Or when you pitch a client, you add a link to your portfolio inside the pitch email. So they already click there and they can see your images and your portfolio before they talk to you online or in person. So when you are then talking to your clients, you meet them, they already know about you. They already saw your images. So in my situation, I have never went through my portfolio during a meeting with a client, as they already saw what I'm creating before. So then during the meeting, eventually, if there were any additional questions like, can you create this? Or we need something like that. Can you do that? So at that point, yes, I opened my online portfolio and I shared with them some images and I described like, yes, this is, for example, the case, the situation when I was creating something similar. You can see that we were focusing on this. We use the hard light, we use this style, this style. So yes, this is something that I can create. And then you start discussing about the style of the images that they need. And you are then basically just showing the examples from your portfolio. And you can also have different types of portfolios, which doesn't need to be online. So, for example, when you are meeting client, and this works for restaurants or for hotels, or when you are visiting local businesses, right? Because there might be another way how you pitch them, and the most effective way to pitch and get those clients is in person. So you visit them. You, for example, when it comes to restaurants, just go for a coffee, see the place yourself. Do you like the light? Do you like the interior? Do you like the outside? Can you imagine you shooting there? Like, can you do the job? Do you think you will be able to do a good job? So if you evaluate, like, this is the place I want to work with, just go there, take a coffee, go there. When you pay, like, just present yourself. Thank you very much. I loved you. And I noticed like you are on Instagram and you have beautiful photos, and I'm food photographer. And is there any way like we could maybe collaborate and so on and so forth? You ask for a person responsible for marketing or an owner directly, and at that point you are presenting and pitching for the first time, and you are presenting yourself for the first time, and so it is very helpful to or have your business card with the QR code for a portfolio. You can just give it to them if the owner is not present there. Or if the owner is present there or the responsible you talk to, you can immediately show your portfolio. And at that point, we spoke about the galleries. It's great if you go directly to your gallery. You don't need to like search for images to show them. You have
Mm-hmm.
some specific example, or you can even create your private gallery, which, for example, like I know tomorrow I'm going through bars in Turin. And so I will put together the specific gallery for the different type of images I want to show as the specific examples, like very strategically targeted images like I want to show. And I will have them in one gallery, which is not public, which is not published in my portfolio, just for me, just to show them and eventually send the link to that gallery to them. Or you can even have a PDF printed portfolio that you keep with yourself and you show them. Like, it is a very different way of showing your portfolio instead of looking at the small screen on your
Mm-hmm,
mobile. Like,
mm-hmm.
you see those images in a big, it has a different impact. And at that point, you can really print your portfolio for this purpose and bring it to them. And one of my students in the club, I know a lot about them because we meet live, and we have discussions and conversations, and so I know what's going on in their businesses, in their lives, and so on and so forth. And one of my students members, she printed the portfolio in the way that she printed separate pages, and she used the clip to keep exchanging the pages and preparing the printed portfolio only for the clients with the relevant images she needed to have. And this was very smart because she didn't print the book, which was closed, but she printed the individual pages, and she was always putting it together for the type of clients she was visiting. So when she was visiting hotels, she added photos of rooms, of spaces, interiors, exteriors, restaurants, and menu. And when she was visiting the restaurants, for example, she only had the menus, the interiors of the restaurant, and so on and so forth, which was really, really smart. And on the other side, there is also the third sort of way that I know, for example, that when the client contacts me we already speak about the meeting, we are going to meet, and I know that I will need to have some sort of PDF to talk about the images, the style, and the best way how we can prepare for that meeting to talk to that client, whether it's a brand, whether a food brand, whether it's a hotel or a restaurant, but you are already talking about the project, the style, you are going to work together eventually. So you can prepare a PDF with the selection of chosen images that you need to talk about for creating that style that you are going to follow for the project. So yes, the online portfolio, which is public, the galleries, online galleries, which can be hidden, but can be open only for you, that you can have when visiting your clients, or you can share it with them. You can have the printed portfolio when you are visiting your clients in person, and you can have the PDF in your computer. So when I was meeting with the client, I just brought my computer. I had my, let's say, PDF open, right, in my computer. I was just showing them, and we were discussing the images.
Wow. Wow. No one has any excuse for not putting up a good portfolio now and not presenting it like beautifully, whether it's digital or printed. Really, there are so many different ways, and we should actually tap into all these different ways because everyone responds to it differently. Like you said, if you're going in person to a bar and showing your portfolio, you would do it differently than face to face in a sit down meeting, than having a Zoom call. So it's like so many different ways. And so we really don't have an excuse and say, oh, I didn't have a chance. Well, yeah, I love it. And one of the things I think that's so important is that, first of all, I just love what you said about your student being able to kind of switch out the pages of the portfolio. That reminds me of my architecture days. That's exactly how we made our architecture portfolios, because we were always updating it based on new work. And we would always have this spiral binding. So you could remove the spiral, put in your new pages, and then bind it back again. So that is such a handy tip. But, what about the main portfolio? How do we update that? How do you decide, okay, this photo to take a back seat and for new work to take the front seat? Like, how often should we be updating our portfolios, and what's the best way, like, to not kind of have an overcrowded portfolio that I just want to put everything inside and have these 500 photos because I love it, I love it, I love it. We just love to put everything we've ever created. We love to do that. So what is the best way to kind of update and to have new photos take over the older pieces?
Yes. So I think it's very hard to actually choose like which image is the right one for the
I
portfolios,
know.
because
Yeah.
we
And
we
what is
love this.
I just have to say this. Like, the funniest thing is only we can tell the difference between two photos. It'll be
Yes.
so subtle, and we'll be like, I need to put both. And the third person who's seeing it will be like, they look the same. So
Yes, and I cannot choose between the fork being 1 centimeter closer or 1 centimeter farther and facing 10-degree different direction from the other fork, and I cannot choose. I love them both.
absolutely. And that's why it's so important to be able to take that decision, be strong about it, and take the tough decisions. So tell us, Lucia, how can we do this?
Well, I think the ideal start is to have like, let's say, 50 images. If you have many, 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 many different images, just let's aim for 50 in the main gallery. Now, we know the number. I'm going to go through the different different images that I have collected. And first, I'm going to basically select the long list. So from the long list, you can cancel some of the images. And this is the easiest maybe way than choosing between two. So basically just start deleting the images from the long list and you will have a short list selection. You will always end up with two very similar images or three images from the same shoot. And ideal situation is that really to show the variety of your skills, you don't necessarily include two or three similar images inside the portfolio. So, for example, I would have to choose one image from one photo shoot, the best image from the photo shoot. And I have many photo shoots. And for example, from the one photo shoot where I shot the product and the cake, I would maybe choose the best image, let's say, would be something larger, like a larger scene. So then the second photo shoot where I shot the cake and the cheesecake or something else, some other product, I will choose something from the close up. And then the other photo shoot, I will choose an angle which was maybe 45. From another photo shoot, I will choose an image which would be like a flat lay. And so I'm aiming for creating a variety of different angles, different perspectives, different scenes, like a larger scene, a close-up, a macro, some other details. And I know it's very hard to choose between two or three images, but you can also ask eventually your family or your friends or someone who can help you choose like which image do you think works better, because clients, they don't have an understanding about the technical side of photography. And if we are not able to decide like which position of the fork works better for me, let's just present it to someone who has no idea about photography and what they say about the images. Also, when you are putting the images together, for example, and you really want to have, sometimes you just have three different images from the same photo shoot and you would put them together, but the three images in a row, the number three works, the odd number. So if you have three images, it creates a nice story together. Or when you have two images, you are creating some sort of diptych and it can work together, but try to avoid very similar photos inside the portfolio. So you really have that versatility of very different styles and angles and perspectives and scenes. Yeah. And so I know it's very hard. And so then focus on having around 40, around 50. And then you keep updating the new images into your portfolio, let's say, depending on how often you shoot. So if you have a client work every month, I think it would be a great case to update your portfolio after 2 months, after 3 months, after 4 months. If you are new to food photography and you don't have that quantity of work, new work that you create, it's fine to keep updating your portfolio anytime. Let's say you have something new and you created something different and you experiment and you create different style and just add it to your portfolio, because you never know when that one specific image can attract the brand to work with you. So as soon as you have something new and something like different, just add it to your portfolio. And also for the beginners, as soon as you start working with clients and you have the first client project, you have the second client project, just update it immediately as soon as you have those projects, because these are your client shoots. These are the projects that can attract a lot of new clients. So as soon as you have something new, add it there. Or then really go through the complete update of your portfolio after like 6 months. If you forget to update your portfolio, which happens very often, at least after 6 months, just have a look at the images that you created previously and what is missing. Maybe something is missing, maybe your client work is missing, and so on and so forth. So that could be, let's say, the best time to update it.
Yeah. And I think updating is so critical because, like we said, it can actually help us negotiate better rates for us, better projects, better clients. And it just shows the level and skill that we are at that point. So the more time we take, the lesser we showcase how far we've
Yes.
reached. So
Yes.
absolutely love your tips. Yes,
I
Lucia, tell me.
I have just one example. So I was working for that long-term client for we were working together for more than a year already, like year and a half. And we did a lot of different projects and a lot of different styles. And so I had those images, right? But I was just so busy that I forgot to update my portfolio. The client was always telling me, you have to update your portfolio. You have to add this portfolio.
That's
And so when
hilarious.
after months, when I updated my portfolio, I was like, look, I wrote him a WhatsApp message. Look, I updated my portfolio. I was like, it looks amazing. I'm very proud of you.
Those are the clients we want. Those are the clients we want to work with. They are not clients, they are our friends. And they are the people who are rooting for us just as much as, we want to be of service to them. But I love that story because someone else is looking out for you.
Yes.
And that's your client. Fantastic. Lucy, I have one last question before we wrap up our conversation. How does one, I know that you offer this to many of your students, but I've also heard a lot about professional like portfolio feedback sessions and portfolio reviews that happen. So in general, like it's not available in all parts of the world. US, it is quite predominant, and a lot of folks go for portfolio reviews for professional conferences where these reviews happen and, all of that. But it's not accessible to everybody. So, in general, like, can you maybe just tell us a little bit about how important it is to actually get feedback on our portfolio? And if someone does want feedback, where can they go? Where can they get feedback so that they can, upgrade and update their portfolios?
Yes, it is very, very important to have a feedback on a portfolio because you know it. The more you spend working on something, the less you see. And having an opinion from another person is like eye opening. And so, whenever there are opportunities to have your portfolio reviewed, like you mentioned in the US, it's more common. It's amazing. It's really, really great because when we put together a portfolio, especially when we are starting out, we have no idea what to put there. We have no idea about how to describe ourselves, what images could work. We don't have that understanding of like what would be the relevant images, like what the companies want to see. We don't know that when we start. And so having the opportunity to have your portfolio review is very important. Very often, so for example, I do very often the portfolio reviews for my members, and they can submit as many times as they want. And I create a video feedback. Sometimes it is about 20 minutes, sometimes it's half an hour. I'm giving them the review about the copy, about the design, about the images. I'm giving them other additional tips about what and how. And it's very often the things which I see is very often in terms of the images. So there is always something that I tell them to focus on in the upcoming months. So first it helps them to have that understanding, like what else do you need to focus on? What else do you miss in your portfolio? And this is very important. And then it's about correcting what you actually have right now. So very often it's about like making it easier, making it easy to read, having more space in between the text, adding something to the text, dividing something from the homepage, maybe creating additional page where you can move those information, making it easier for people. Like you have the text here, just add the link, just make people access your gallery immediately after you describe about yourself, after you describe about this specific service. Just, all those tiny details can make a lot of difference because for the user experience, like how easy it is for the clients to find the information that you need. And this is very often something that you are not able to understand it yourself, and you need and someone else from outside, like who can objectively tell you like what was my experience on your portfolio. So it is very, very important. And yeah, the I saw it with my students, the ones who were working on it, who were submitting portfolios for the first review, for the second review, for the third review. They have had a great success with the brands, and they have developed their businesses in the way that they are so much farther than me, for example, or have worked on such amazing projects and with such amazing clients and brands. So it is really, really worth just find a way how you can eventually get the portfolio review. It is changing your life. It is eye-opening and very, very necessary for the great start of your business.
Perfect. I love that. I mean, it's so important. We can create whatever we want, But if a third person can come and tell us whether that's actually going to work, it makes all our effort so much worth it and so much targeted so that we can actually attract clients. We can actually make all that work worthwhile. Thank you so much, Lucia, for being here today. What a fabulous, fabulous, fabulous conversation. I knew you would be the perfect person to talk about it. And I think what I absolutely loved about our chat today is that, just like you are this beautiful combination of being organized and disorganized, I feel like you've kind of left that kind of a message for portfolio creation as well. Like there are parts of portfolio creation that are very organized, maybe in the way you market it or, the way you present it. But there is also so much room for freedom and being, disorganized in a way. Like I'm doing air quotes right now. So there's so much freedom and this sense of joy in being disorganized while you're creating your portfolio that you don't have to be stuck in a box. You don't have to follow very stringent rules, and it's really you on a page, in that photo, in that flow, in that cohesiveness. So I feel like that beautiful combination of organizing or being organized and disorganized is something that comes beautifully through everything that you've shared with us today. Before you go, Lucia, would you please be able to share with our audience the details about this membership course that you've been talking about, or your website, your social media handles, if you can share all of that with us.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. You can find me on foodlight.io. This is my Instagram handle, and this is my website domain as well, foodlight.io. And the Members Club is my membership where I teach my members to grow their food photography. So we have a lot of courses and master classes and live calls where I help them grow their skills and create the images that they would love to create. And we also dedicate a lot of attention to building the business. So we have a lot of classes and courses and live calls where we speak about the business and how they can start the business, how they can grow it more, and so on and so forth. And it's a community with all the aspects, because this was what I wanted to create, a community where you can meet other members on the Zoom live and talk with them. So it's not me talking. It's, yes, of course, I am present on every call and I'm coaching everyone and in everything they need. So no secrets, no like limits, whatever you need, I will help you. But there is this aspect of members talking to each other and supporting each other. And I ran it for 3 years, and I have members who started with me and they are still there and they have developed their own businesses and they are amazing and they are sharing and helping others to grow their businesses and to work with clients, and they share the advice and the experiences. And it is really, really amazing because I also learned so much from them. It's really, really great. It's amazing. I am really proud of how this community is supporting each other, and I have no words, literally.
It makes all the work worthwhile, doesn't it?
Yes, it's very satisfying seeing the members growing and going through, this curve, and then they are helping others to grow and get the business, because there is so much opportunities and so much space for everyone, and everyone is very happy to share and to help.
And that is not very easy to find. I love that. What a beautiful community you've made, Lucia. And just by talking to you right now, I can definitely feel how nurtured and how supported your community must feel with your coaching. So I'm sure our listeners feel the same way after listening to you today. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for
Thank
sharing your
you.
knowledge. And thank you for being so, so, so generous with all your knowledge with us today. Thank you.
Thank you, Jutima. I really enjoyed the talk, and I'm very, very happy and grateful that you invited me. It was such a pleasure for me to talk to you and to share all my knowledge with the listeners. So thank you again.
That was part two of our conversation with Lucia. And oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. I wish such an episode was available when I was starting out. I wish I knew all of this before I started food photography, because boy, she left us with some massive takeaways and some really, really strategic and easy action steps that we must take if we want to convert all this work that we do, all these beautiful photos, all these amazing photos that we create if we want to convert them into something lucrative and profitable, and we want them to do the work that they are intended to do. All right. So, right from how to create a portfolio to how to present it, how to market it, how to talk about it, how to package it, to also how to get feedback on it. Everything you need to know about professional food photography portfolios is right here in part one and part two of this conversation with Lucia. If you have not had a chance to tune into part one, I highly, highly recommend it. You are going to have some solid takeaways, just like you had with this episode. And of course, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out at hello@myfoodlens.com. Drop me an email there or send me a DM on Instagram at Gutama_myfoodlens. I'll see you next week with another episode. Until then, bye-bye.